Hi, kids.
Woo!
Welcome to another edition of Bad Pop Song.
Yes.
I am Bo.
Hi, Bo.
That's Dan.
I'm Dan. And I'm going to tell you to actually go to badpopsong.com. That's where you can view other episodes or listen to them because we did a radio podcast for a while. More of this stuff. You can see Bo perform and also some stuff that he's written there. So get your daily dose of Bo.
All the Bo you can stand.
Badpopsong.com.
Yes.
Go there.
So,
yes,
this episode, we are going to be continuing to talk about the Toronto International Film Festival 2024.
Yay.
So, I'm going to jump right into it.
Oh, okay.
So, we will be discussing two films.
All right.
One, my horror pick.
Ooh, there's always one.
From TIFF, and my queer pick from TIFF.
Ah.
So, what shall we start with?
Let's start with the horror one. That way we can end on hopefully a happy note.
I was hoping you'd say that. I'm always up to talk about a good horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
So, Heretic is my horror pick for my TIFF trip.
All right. Good name for a horror film.
It stars Hugh Grant, who plays a gentleman who terrorizes the door-to-door young Mormon people.
Oh,
yes, he terrorizes these two young Mormon girls.
Hence the name Heretic.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to say right off, trailers were showing for this like before I left for Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it didn't look like anything original to me.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a standard horror film. You know, some guy charms a couple of wandering ladies into his house and starts doing naughtiness to them.
Right. The concept of like messing with the, with the young.
Yeah, it's the whole cabin in the woods thing.
Yeah. Let's mess with the young elders or the young sisters,
the naive people.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I wasn't really excited about it, but when I got to Toronto, I noticed it was going to be playing. So okay. I had an afternoon I needed to fill in.
Got to spend every single waking moment watching film.
And I thought, I'll watch this. It probably won't be great, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen?
It is surprisingly good.
Really?
Heretic is a surprisingly good movie.
Well, you have Hugh Grant in there, so it can't be all bad.
Yes, and I must say, the first time I ever saw Hugh Grant, especially now that he's older, he's in his 60s now.
Yeah, he's not the young, charming pup he used to be.
The first time I saw him play like this evil, villainous kind of person was in an HBO series from 2020, 2021 maybe, called The Undoing.
Okay.
And he was pure evil.
Really?
Yeah, and he was scary. He was like scary mean too, and there was like a build up to it. Like you didn't see it right away.
Okay.
And then little by little, he's peeling off layers, and you're like, oh, this guy. And then all of a sudden, it's just like it hits you, and the same sort of nefarious, evil intentions kind of a guy in Heretic. Although you kind of tend to feel it right away.
Oh, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
at least more so than the other.
Even though the girls
series,
the girls seem initially naive to it. But unless you have any questions, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into the plot. Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. Speaking of Hugh Grant, though, is this like a new turn of character type for him?
You know what?
Is he gonna do like lots of horror films now, or being bad guys?
If he does, I think he has hit the nail on evil villainous type guy. He does it really well, and I think he may have found a new
calling,
yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's just, you got so used to his when he was younger, you got so used to his
the romantic comedy type,
the rom-com, pretty boy, charming,
dapper,
yes, just very adorable, kind of goofy guy. And this is a nice change. This is a nice transition, I think, for him. So I hope he continues on this route, because he's got it down. He's got the evil villain thing down pretty well.
Nice.
You in past conversations, you mentioned older.
Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, this isn't the first horror film that he's been in, because one of his early films, I think, was I really should have looked this up. We actually had to watch it for art class in college. I forget why, but it's such a bizarre. It's an older British film called like Curse of the White Snake or something like that, and he is a pretty boy that just sort of shows up on the scene and doesn't really do much of anything. But it's a very strange film otherwise.
But he's just like, back then he was just the he was the pretty guy.
He wasn't playing a villain or anything like that, as far as I'm aware. It's been, gosh, how many years since I watched that? 30.
Well, anything else? Any other questions?
Let's start talking about the plot.
Okay. Well, he plays Mr. Reed, and he deceptively lures these girls in with the promise of blueberry pie.
That would get me in there.
And his potential membership in joining the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Of course.
And what makes this movie surprisingly good, and definitely something I did not expect, was the amount. There's so much theology is discussed in the film as he debates the girls through these lectures and interrogates them about things in their lives.
That's why this is considered a horror film, because it's just lecturing.
Well, I mean, he is lecturing them and debating them, but he is also terrorizing them as well.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, and he there's all these discussions he talks about. He has like he has stuff pinned up and things, charts and all these things that he's showing them, and it has to do with the histories of religion and different cultures. And
so he was just waiting for a couple Mormons or a couple Jehovah's Witnesses to show up. It's like he could have his jollies.
Yes, and I don't want to give too much away where that's concerned.
Okay,
but he's making it a game, and they have to see whether or not the girls have to see whether or not they can get through, navigate their way through all of his interrogating and his lecturing and his debating with them, and see if they can make it out alive.
Oh jeez.
Yeah,
it's like a Saw game, but religious.
It's funny you said religious. I was watching the film, and I think this would be an ideal film to show in a religious studies class,
really,
in some sort of theology class, or some sort of like some sort of religious curriculum, part of a curriculum of some kind of religious or theology type studies. I think this would be a good film to show.
Despite the fact that it's a horror film and there's body parts flying about.
Well, I think the instructor, professor, whatever, can make the decision of how much of the film they would want to show. And it says, well, okay, we'll show at least all this theology and and the
Show it up until it becomes a gore fest.
yeah, we'll show all of the stuff with the histories and theology, and then if you want to go home and watch, all the gory stuff, please
feel free to.
Yeah. By all means.
That's just silly. So, is this a good film for horror enthusiasts, or is it just too heady for them?
Oh no,
it sounds very smart.
This is a horror enthusiast film.
Smart.
This is a horror enthusiast film, and I think true horror enthusiasts like smart. They like some intellectual,
something to at least think about while they're watching the festivities.
I think combining religion and horror is not a new thing.
Yeah,
and I think any horror enthusiast likes that. But again, I think they also like, again, they like some intellectual discussion and things to ponder, because you combine that, and it sort of contributes to the terrorizer's motive.
He's testing them on their religious knowledge.
Well, right, because he himself has his own experiences, and that whatever all that it was, it shaped who he has become.
Ooh, scary. Is he trying to enlighten them, or is he just being a dick?
I don't know that he's trying to enlighten them as much as he is just trying to be a dick.
Okay.
Yes.
So fun time to go around. So, who all is in this? Because you mentioned Hugh Grant.
Well, I will. Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East are the girls.
Okay.
They play Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton,
okay,
respectively. If you're familiar with Mormon traditions, the women are the girls are called sisters and the guys are called elders. I think, but from my experience, yes. So that's why they
should be brothers.
They are dressed as Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton in the film. Yeah, and Sophie Thatcher too has really been making a name for herself in the horror genre. She made an appearance in one of my favorite horror films this year called Maxine, which is it's part of a trilogy, and she's not anyone scary or anything like that. She's a makeup artist, but it was just a really cool scene. She's popular for being in The Boogeyman, and a very popular television series. It's a horror series called Yellow Jackets. And Chloe East, you probably remember her from The Fabelmans. But both performances by the girls, they do a brilliant job in with these characters as far as navigating their fear, their survival strategy, and on top of that still trying to hang on to their faith. They've got so much thrown at them, so they do a really good job at handling all that. So it was written and directed by and I don't know why not enough people are saying this, but I think these guys are kind of like the new masters of horror. It was written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who brought us the screenplay for A Quiet Place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
good things I've heard about that. Yeah. Is this the first thing that they've directed, or
no?
okay.
They've directed other things.
Okay.
But A Quiet Place is definitely something that's extremely notable. They started a whole franchise.
Which is odd, but hey,
and then all the movies that came after, it's just characters, based on characters by, but yes, they did write the original film.
Gotcha.
So
interesting.
Yeah. Can I mention?
Yes, please do.
The movie uses the song Creep by Radiohead.
Oh, jeez.
Really well. quite beautifully. He sort of Mr. Reed, who's again the Hugh Grant character, he does a really good job of like tying that song into his whole uh religious, the theology lecturing,
Oh,
he kind of
jeez.
throws the song in a nice way.
And does it just keep making an appearance throughout the film, or is it just one scene?
It kind of does.
Okay.
It kind of does. But again, I think horror enthusiasts too. I mean, Radiohead, Creep. I don't know. Those are also kind of horror enthusiast kind of
the
music.
vibes.
Yeah. So I think that's something else that will contribute, to a horror enthusiast in enjoying this film.
Right.
So
So when would you play this during your film festival? I ask you this every here for if this is your first time. I I I say to Bo that he is having a film festival for 24 hours from Saturday at noon till Sunday at noon. And then I ask him if he will play this during his film festival. And if so, when?
I think you've heard me talk about in years past and earlier TIFFs that I attended, at least the first 3 or 4. I would actually go to these public screenings called Midnight Madness. And that's those are the sort of extreme kind of horror type films.
Okay.
And I did I know I did at least 3 Midnight Madnesses. It's hard to do now. Now that I'm older,
sleep is more precious.
I mean, it was fun, those first 2 or 3 festivals because but now it's just like because you'd see the film, and then of course it's a public screening, so you'd see talent, there's a Q&A with the filmmakers, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you're really not getting settled and into bed till maybe close to 4 a.m.
Oh gosh.
And then I would have to be up for like a 9 a.m. Press screening. So
so you're getting maybe like 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah. So I could do that this first 3 years, but I can't do that anymore. I really do miss the Midnight Madness experience because it is like a Rocky Horror kind of a thing.
It's a raucous audience.
But depending on the film, if it's part of like a franchise, that you'll have people in cosplay, or they bring props, and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. It's just a different vibe. It's just a different crowd. They're a little
more laid back, perhaps.
Well, actually, I mean, what I was gonna say is they're much less reserved than like your typical
right.
Your typical like afternoon or evening like prime time kind of a screening. You have. So yeah, Midnight Madnesses can get a little fun and crazy. They don't get out of hand, but they are quite well attended, and
it's a good time, a lot of fun.
So that was a very long answer to your question, but yes, I would want some kind of a midnight screening at my festival, for horror movies or extreme type films, like of that vein. So yeah, this would be a midnight showing.
Encourage costumes. Everybody dresses as Mormons.
Yes, yeah, dressed up like a Mormon elder or a Mormon sister, or
Oh, that would be such a creepy room in and of itself.
I definitely think this would be a good Midnight Madness for sure.
So is this getting a wide release?
Yes. It has its big LA premiere on October 24th, and it gets released nationwide on November 15th.
Nice.
So
just in time for Christmas.
Just in time for Christmas, yes. Yes. Advent.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Jesus and all that. Anything else you would like to ask me about Heretic?
Not about Heretic. I think we've covered everything we want about that.
Okay.
Any other films you want to mention real quick before we go on to the queer pick of the week?
Now I'm just gonna jump
Right
the
into
queer
that.
pick. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So my queer pick for TIFF is On Swift Horses.
On Swift Horses.
It is a wonderful drama directed by Daniel Minahan. Daniel Minahan is, pretty well known from directing a lot of extremely popular queer television shows, including, the assassination of Johnny Versace in the American Crime Story series.
Sure, I'll believe you.
Halston, Fellow Travelers, and he's directed like a handful of Game of Thrones episodes as well. So Daniel Minahan is pretty well established, and the queer genre seems to be his thing. So
okay.
So yes, that's On Swift Horses. It's about the. Shall I jump in, or do you?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's discuss what this is.
It's about the lives of Muriel and Julius, and it's set in the 1950s.
Okay.
So it's a very vibrant adaptation of Shannon Polfa's 2019 novel. And when I say vibrant, it really captures the 50s era. You see like 1950s, Northern California, and those kinds of houses that were coming up in that time.
Okay.
That was sort of you would see it on Leave It to Beaver.
Oh, yeah. The old quiet suburbia.
Yes, and that captured that quite well. And then you see a lot of cool like Las Vegas 1950s sort of, the guys, the suits. And, and then
the neon lights and everything.
Yeah, and the Daisy Edgar Jones, who's one of the stars of the film, her hair and her 1950s dresses. And
very prim and proper.
Very, very beautiful. The color and everything. That's why I call it a vibrant.
So it's very Technicolor.
Yeah, I mean it does well in capturing the era. So I will continue. Muriel and her soon-to-be husband Lee are beginning to start their life together, which is really just the typical provincial humdrum of that era.
Yeah, you reach 21 as a woman and you get married and you have kids the next year and
buy a house, all that kind of stuff.
Settle down, be a housewife.
Then Lee's brother Julius all of a sudden shows up, and he sparks something in Muriel.
Okay.
And of course, Muriel and Lee are hoping, particularly Lee, is hoping Julius, Julius is his younger brother, and he worries about him, and he feels like he's just very envelope pushing and rebellious, and he just worries about him, and he wants him to just kind of like settle down and just live with the two of them, so he can keep an eye on him and that sort of thing.
Give him like a safety net he can fall back on.
And again, Julius sort of sparks something in Muriel.
Okay.
But he takes off.
Julius does.
Yes, Julius does.
Okay.
And he ends up in Vegas because he's good at poker.
Okay.
And becomes a casino surveillance guy.
Oh.
Where he meets Henry.
Aha.
And
pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. The
sparks fly.
The sparks fly. And the two obviously hook up.
Okay.
And meanwhile, bored with her married provincial existence,
as you would,
Muriel in Northern California starts secretly betting on horses.
Oh.
And this is what I was talking about, the 1950s sort of dresses. She dresses very nicely because she's going to the races.
Oh yeah.
And her hair is very well put together and everything.
Oh, does she ever wear the fancy hat that you see at the Kentucky Derby?
I believe she may have a hat in a scene, or at least you see some other women with those kinds of hats at the races. And she starts betting on horses and realizes she's actually good at it. So she keeps doing it, and she's kind of on this streak. And then she befriends the neighborhood lesbian named Sandra.
Oh my!
So you know where this is going, right?
Oh wow! So we have two sort of gay-ish relationships going on.
Now, all the while, she's corresponding with Julius via letter writing.
Okay.
And neither of them realizing the parallel lives that they're both living.
What, they never like tell them each other about?
No, they don't get into too much detail. I mean, they she just kind of talks about, you know, her life with Lee.
Your brother's doing okay, and he got a promotion. Yada, yada.
He talks about, you know, just, he doesn't really talk much about his personal life, you know,
just about his job,
and things like that. And there's, I don't know, but there is some sort of a connection to them. And in the letters, there's always something said by one or both of them that, you know, that there is some sort of a connection between them. And of course, she still is kind of hoping that he comes back. And so that's pretty much the narrative of On Fresh Horses.
Okay, so you're just sort of following these two. Well, one's a normal gay relationship, and the other one's a love affair. Or does it ever reach that? Is it just like, you know, a lesbian bringing her out of her shell?
Yeah,
more so than a love relationship cheating on Lee.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
Oh, okay.
But I will say, you know, she's the character is the character of Muriel. I think she is discovering that she is bisexual. And more than, and in mostly too, she this whole married life is not for her. You know, it's she's learning that, and
okay,
you know, that's why she keeps secrets from her. That's why she, you know, she gambles at the horse races and things like that. And
she's finding that she actually has a passion outside of what she's been dictated,
right? Outside of you know, being married,
the diligent housewife.
Well, she's a waitress, but you know that
we got to make ends meet.
That's how she learned about the races. Like, she would listen to these well-dressed men at the diner, and she would secretly listen in their conversations, and they would sit there and talk, and they would talk about who they would bet on at the races. So that's how she knew how to like pick the right horse and things like that. And then she just sort of learned how to just start trusting her instincts and things like that. So
interesting. So trying to think of other conversations. Who would be interested to go see this? Is this strictly a gay friendly film?
It is. I think queer people, anyone in the LGBTQ spectrum should see this film.
Okay,
because it is about self-discovery, and a lot of us, you know, LGBTQ folks are on a journey. You know, we learn more and more about ourselves and our identities and things like that. So in that regard, yes, I think the, you know, folks on the queer spectrum definitely, I would encourage to see this film. I think just regular film enthusiasts, you know, film enthusiasts who are queer friendly, I think should see the film.
Okay,
it's just a well-made film. It's well shot, it's well paced, it's well directed, it's well written, and
good performances all around.
Jacob Elordi, Daisy Edgar Jones, Will Poulter, who plays Lee, her husband, really surprised me, and I definitely would not be surprised if he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Really?
Yes, because you know, I'm so used to Will Poulter, like, just playing like this douchey kind of a teenage guy, and no, he's like really mature in his performance as Lee in On Fresh Horses. He's not only is he mature, he's evolved and just a very developed character, you know. And and Lee himself is a really good guy. You know, he loves his wife, and you know, and he loves his brother, and he does know that his brother's gay.
Oh, okay.
But he doesn't, and that's why he wants him close to him, because he's worried, you know, that he'll get hurt and he'll get harmed, and
I mean, considering it's the 50s, you know, gay culture is not exactly looked upon fondly.
Exactly. So he he tells Muriel in the film, yeah, I just wish he was here, because he implies without saying, I know he's gay. He just says he's different. You know, he has different inclinations, and you know, and this world does not take to that very well. And I worry about him, and he's very rebellious, and he's, you know, he's really and I just wish he could be here and we could keep an eye on him and things like that. So Lee,
make sure he's doing okay.
Lee is a really good guy, and he's a good character. And of course, if you like Daisy Edgar Jones, I love her. I loved her in Twisters.
Okay.
Such a great summer film. And of course, you know, I've been infatuated with Jacob Elordi for quite a while now, because, you know, as I've always mentioned, I'm a big fan of Euphoria, the series, and I'm also, you know, you remember, I think I talked to you too. You were like absolutely nauseous when I was just talking about Saltburn in last award season, and him being in that. Diego Calva, he plays Henry. He's Julius's boyfriend,
the love interest.
Yes. And he's quite good. I last time I saw him was in this really terrible movie directed by Damien Chazelle called Babylon. Not a good film.
No,
not because of Diego Calva or any of the actors. It just was really poorly made.
Oh,
so it was, I don't know. It's just nice to see Diego Calva in a good movie.
Able to show off, yes.
And of course, I should mention Sasha Kaye plays Sandra, the neighborhood lesbian. That
I love that. The neighborhood lesbian
that you know, becomes friends with Muriel.
It helps her awakening.
And so I want to add something.
Okay, go ahead.
Which I think is really significant to this film and the festival. I didn't really read anything about this film going into it.
Okay.
I didn't know that it was a queer themed film.
Oh, really?
No.
You just thought it was a 50s film about two people in love.
Well, you know, when TIFF, when they put out their schedule, their film schedule, you know, I'm just going through it, and I see this, you know, or it's all. I also initially I looked at everything alphabetically, so I'm already like into the O's, and I see this On Swift Horses, and there's a picture of Daisy Edgar Jones and Jacob Elordi just like intensely looking at each other. And here I'm not like really reading about the film. I didn't even like read the synopsis that the programmer wrote about it. I just thought,
you're just like, I like these people. I'm going to go see this film.
It said something about 1950s, so I was like, okay, this is a 1950s love story with these two. I like them both. I'll add this to my list of things to see. So
lo and behold,
I will add, this was my last film of TIFF. We left like that. We got there like Wednesday night and did not leave till the following Thursday. And we each of us had a morning screening before we left, and this was my morning screening. So I was pleasantly surprised when I discovered that it was
it was dripping with gaydom,
a queer themed film. And so I was elated and overjoyed, and so I remember screening was over, and I had to run to the Lightbox, which is TIFF's like main hub
Mm-hmm.
where TT and Kevin were waiting for me, and I immediately like ran up to them. I was like, I had no idea that On Swift Horses was queer themed, and they're like, you didn't know that?
Like you should be the person that would know these things.
Yes, I should be, definitely. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that, and I was also cool to see Jacob Elordi play gay.
Yeah,
He did it well. His performance is very. I think it's weird. I've sort of watching him in different, watching him on a television series and seeing him in the films and how how his his different accents and things like that, and he definitely was he had kind of like a James Dean thing kind of going, kind of a James Dean, kind of a like even like a Montgomery Clift kind of a vibe. And he played Elvis last year in the Priscilla movie. So he kind of had like this Elvis drawl too. So I think that was just kind of left over from that. So I thought that was kind of charming. I thought that added it to his performance,
his mystique,
and also he was the guy had rough edges again because he was because he was he was nomadic, he was a wanderer, he was a survivor and that sort of thing. So he had his rough edges, but at heart he was a really tender, sensitive guy, and watching him fall for Henry and falling for him hard, and it's just it's so nice to see that in performances, and especially when you see especially when you see like straight guys playing gay guys, it's just like
it's like they can't be capable of that.
Yeah. So his interpretation of Julius was very sweet. He was just again just a sort of a sensitive soul, at the heart of it, but the exterior just very rough around the edges, and I just do things my way, and
right.
So yeah, I mean he has a great scene where he's trying to he's talking to Henry, and he's trying, they've already have this pretty established relationship, and he's trying to move forward so they could continue to like have a life together, and he basically says, all I've ever been called is a thief, a robber, or a faggot. And it was such a powerful line, because you think of the era, and you think, and how the queer community was treated back then,
right?
And it's just so it was so. Yeah, I wanted to. I know I'm kind of giving some spoilers, but it's I
just really adored this film.
I wanted to comment on his acting. I wouldn't say I adored it, but I thought it was a pretty queer, solid. I thought it was a very solid queer themed film.
Okay. Would you play this at your festival, and when?
I would play this at my festival. In fact, I thought about it a little, and I think it should be. I would put this sort of in some queer programming. Queer programming. I would curate some kind of queer programming.
Okay.
Like maybe some shorts, and then this On Swift Horses would be like the end feature film.
All right.
All right. And I'd probably put it around late afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. So people could get that in, go have their aperitifs, discuss, and then head on to the prime time.
Yeah, okay.
Part of their evening. So,
well, that's lovely.
Yeah,
just darling.
Yeah, I think all festivals should definitely have good queer programming. So, TIFF is definitely no stranger.
Yeah,
to that.
Do they have the queer room to watch all of these films?
I wouldn't say they have like a queer room, but like they don't,
or a queer track.
They're just in with everything else.
Okay.
Yeah, which is what's actually really nice about it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're just the queer shorts are just in with all the non-queer shorts, and all the other queer films are all in with the other non queer feature films. So
It's slowly getting to the point where you don't have to distinguish them. It's just a good film.
Yes. So where are we on time?
Well, we've been talking for about 40 minutes.
Okay, I want to wrap this up.
Okay. That one real quick question before we go.
Yes.
So these are in the last episode, we discussed 2 films, and in this episode, we've discussed 2 more films. These 4 films are sort of your standout or standout movies from TIFF that you thoroughly enjoyed the most.
Yeah, that's like I mentioned in the first episode. These were just ones that stayed with me.
Okay.
These aren't any ones that these decisions are not based on any reviews.
Mm-hmm. This is solely your own personal opinion.
These are just movies that I liked and stayed with me throughout the festival.
Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to crown any of them as the best movie at TIFF?
Well, that is going to be the next episode.
Oh, I'm glad I teased it. Excellent. Well, then I guess we'll have to wrap up, so we'll get to that ASAP.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I think that's a wrap.
All right, then. So thanks for watching this episode of Bad Pop Song. Be sure to check out our website, badpopsong.com, for the latest episodes, links to the songs, films, and whatever we discuss, and additional to everything Bo. It's great stuff. Go check it out. Tune in next time when Bo continues to regale us with the wondrous, magical world of filmdom. And until then, I'm Dan.
And Bad Pop Music. We will be getting back to the music
eventually. But this is your gig, man. You got to talk about the films.
It is. Also, too, if you are watching these videos on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
Yes. I keep forgetting I need to put that into my copy.
Well, don't they all say that after
every they video? Do. It's like after a certain point, it's like, okay.
So,
anyways, I'm not Bo. You're Bo. I'm Dan.
Yeah. Well, he already said my name, so later.
Have fun.